What's going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be recapping the final day of the NFL Scouting Combine. Today was the defensive backs, safeties, corners, and right now they are pretty much just wrapping up the on-field drills. And from start to finish, this was actually, after the first group, the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends. This is probably the first group that I actually get to watch everything, 100% of everything that happened. And it's because again, we always kind of relate these videos back. It's me talking about the draft, but as an Eagle fan, the positions that are the biggest need for the Philadelphia Eagles, wide receiver and corner, I like to just watch that much more and get that much more information as I try and shape my opinion on these players. And it looked good, man. I mean, the safeties weren't generally as freaky athletic as we have seen in years past, but there's a couple sleepers and stuff like that. The corner group looked pretty good. And we'll be breaking down the winners and losers from both groups. So we'll focus first with the cornerbacks. We kind of knew the 2-3 fastest players. If you told me right now, gun in my head, 3 fastest players are going to run the 3 fastest 40-yard dash times before the combine, I would have said Guidry from Utah because he's a sprinter. I would have said Javaris Davis from Auburn. And I would have said Jeff Gladney from TCU. And unfortunately, my boy Jeff Gladney with the 4.48, which is a good time, was 10th. He was just inside the top 10 for 40-yard dash times. But Javelin Guidry ran 4.29, which was the fastest. Javaris Davis ran a 4.39, which was tied for second fastest. So, not surprised from that standpoint. A little bit surprised with CJ Henderson from Florida running a 4.39. Usually, I'm pounding the table for all my Florida Gators. However, CJ Henderson kind of took the year off this year for the Gators. And, it's unfortunate because anytime I try to talk about him or want to evaluate him, I just think of all the games this season. You starts right away with Florida versus Miami in the season opener. It was just he did not look particularly good, and it wasn't he was making bad plays. It was just it just seemed like low effort this, low effort that, and he had a really good combine. 20 reps on the bench press, 4.39, probably solidified himself as a late first round, early second round type pick. And if you asked me my opinion of CJ Henderson 2018, I'd be like, hell yeah, right in that conversation for the best corner. And it's just last year soured me on it. And it's one of those things, it's so hard for me to get my head around because as a Gator fan, it was very frustrating because you're just I know how much better you could be. You and Marco Wilson should be the best corner, one of the best 1-2 punch corners. And he just wasn't playing up to that level. And I thought it was an effort thing. Obviously, you never know. And then the same thing, if you're not getting paid and you don't want to get an ACL or anything like that, and you're playing to be a little bit safe because you're going to the NFL at the end of the year. I mean, it's one of the things I kind of got to get my head around when I'm trying to evaluate it and understanding it. It's probably just because more so it's my team, and it's always every time I think about it, I don't think of when he was playing at an elite level in 2018. I just think of some of the bad plays in 2019. But he definitely helped his draft stock, and the more and more I just think about it, the more and more I'm yeah, he's actually really good, and I can't just let how I disagree with how he played this year really cloud my judgment. Troy Pride from Notre Dame, 4.40. AJ Terrell from Clemson, 4.42, helped himself out there. Kendall Vildor, one of my late round kind of guys, looked really good during their Senior Bowl. He ran a 4.44 across the board. He kind of sounded hilarious during his drills. Michael Ojemudia from Iowa, 4.45 is a good time for him. I actually kind of thought you look at Iowa corners, they kind of for the last couple of years. You look at a Des King, a little bit slower. You look at a Josh Jackson, a little bit slower, but both those guys' tapes were great. Ojemudia, tape not on that same level, but from an athletic profile standpoint, a different tier than those guys. So I think if you're looking for day 3 value at corner, Ojemudia from Iowa, solid tape this year and helped us out at the combine. Christian Fulton, LSU, 4.46. He's probably going to be the second corner on the board, in my opinion, though. 4.48, Mr. Jeff Gladney from TCU. I think everyone knows Jeff Okudah, who ran a 4.48, which is a good time as expected. He's not a 4.3 corner. It's who's that corner to. And it seems like Christian Fulton, or maybe, get some outside guys talking about CJ Henderson, have him in that spot. For me, it's really, really close, and it might be Jeff Gladney getting a slight edge. Darnay Holmes from UCLA ran a 4.48. I think he's going to be one of the better day 2 corners that are going to be available in draft. Maybe to the Eagles. I mean, he fits that Eagles mold of just under 6 feet tall. He's 5'10", 195. Played a lot of slot. I think he can also play on the outside. In terms of the other four, Jalen Johnson from Utah running a 4.50. I mean, he's your lanky zone type corner, and I actually thought he'd be slower than that. I thought he'd have a disappointing 40-yard dash time. A 4.50 for Jalen Johnson is pretty damn good. In terms of disappointing, I thought Dane Jackson from Pittsburgh, anytime I looked at his tape a little bit, it looked really damn good, looked really underrated. And unfortunately, a 4.57, doesn't quite line up. Cameron Dantzler from Mississippi State. Obviously, when you look at the 40-yard dash time, 4.64 is it's not good. And I mean, Mississippi State, pretty much anyone, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, when these guys come to the combine, we're expecting them to just blow up. The last 3 years, it's always just dudes from one of these two schools that kind of weren't on the radar, but then they have just an insane combine and re-solidify your stock. Like even just from last year, Mississippi State, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Abram. And Dantzler coming in with that, he was definitely in that top. I think Bucky Brooks had him in his top 5 corners. I didn't have him that graded high. His tape is pretty good. He's always around the ball, always getting pass breakups, always getting his hand on it. But a 4.64, I mean, he's bigger at 6'2", 190. But that is, he's going to hurt his stock. I think 40-yard dash time for corners, because it kind of reflects your makeup speed. A bad 40-yard dash time is going to hurt you. I think that definitely does hurt Cameron Dantzler. I think he had a guy that could have snuck into the second round, third round. He might be day 3 pick now with not a good 40-yard dash time whatsoever. So big winners and losers. I think you probably have to say CJ Henderson, because I think you're going to have a lot of people, myself included, that are just going to view this combine and really remember that 2018 CJ Henderson and not what we saw on the field at 2019. So I think he helped his stock. I think AJ Terrell helped his stock. Kindle Vildor and Michael Ojemudia helped their stock. In terms of hurting their stock, I think it just has to be Cameron Dantzler from the cornerback group. 4.64 is not a good time. Safeties. So the safeties, it's the small school, the rise of the small school players. Friggin' Jeremy Chinn, 4.45, Kyle Duggar, 4.49. These are both, I would say, I honestly have probably watched as much Kyle Duggar tape. I think I watched 6 games from Lenoir-Rhyne. I'm a fan, and I made a tweet saying, we're talking about small school safeties. Last year, Nasir Adderley out of Delaware was, the big hyped-up guy. I don't know, he went second round to the Chargers. I think Kyle Duggar's a better player. They're different types, different style player. But I think if we're just grouping them in as small school safeties, I like Kyle Duggar's tape a lot more, and he absolutely killed the combine. So did Jeremy Chinn. I actually got to go watch a little bit more of him, but he put 4.45 at 6'3", 220. The only reason why I didn't watch a whole lot of tapes because I was like, what is he, a safety linebacker? Didn't really know his play, but I'm definitely going to have to go back and watch some more. I had him in my top 150 for players, and I'm just going to have to come back and reevaluate just because I think if I just more so in my notes had him as a box safety. I did not see that kind of athleticism. I'm definitely have to go back and reevaluate for Chinn. So he's a big winner, as is Duggar. Terrell Burgess running a 4.46 out of Utah. His tape was actually kind of interesting, and I did not see that kind of athlete on tape. Kavon Wallace from Clemson, 4.53 is a solid time. You get Antoine Winfield wanting a 4.45. I mean, I don't know where he's gonna go yet. I think he could be second round. I had him to the third round of my Philadelphia Eagles in my last mock draft. I think he's probably got himself into second round consideration with that. Xavier McKinney ran a 4.63, but he pulled up limp. I mean, he's kind of the big hype safety right now. Him and Grant Delpit, because Grant Delpit didn't run. So I don't think you probably have to throw that 4.63 out the window. Antoine Brooks out of Maryland running a 4.64 was definitely disappointing. I thought for sure he'd be in the low 4.5s. He's one of those guys that I watched a lot when I was looking and scouting Darnell Savage last year. Darnell Savage, one of my dogs. One of the few guys I was pounding the table for. And Brooks looked pretty good, man. He's kind of like a linebacker safety hybrid. And a 4.64. It wasn't particularly great. Jordan Fuller of Ohio State, 4.67. Looked a lot faster on tape. Only watched 1 or 2 games cut-ups of him. But I think the big winner, well, I'm not going to say it's big winner. The big surprise was Tanner Muse at Clemson running a 4.41. I watched a lot of Tanner Muse because it was one of those things, every time I watched Clemson play, he would make a play. And he's 6'2", 230. I just thought he'd be your classic, that white safety. The big, powerful white safety that had some pretty good production, played a lot of snaps, but he's going to be in a 4.7, would end up going 7th round UDFA, be a special teamer. A 4.41, it's nearing Albert O territory, where it didn't really match up. There's no way you could have told that Tanner Muse from Clemson was going to have 4.41 speed. But here we are, talking about it. So I think he definitely helped his stock out in some regard because I liked the tape. It was just the athletic profile fit that of your traditional, let's be honest, white safety that played a lot of college stats. That's just, when all's said and done, you're probably, you're not Eric Weddle territory, so you're probably not going to be special teamer at best. But that 4.41 definitely helps his special teams ability as a gunner. But I think there's going to be a lot of people that you might be able to push him. I had a 7th round UDFA grade. You might be able to sneak into early day 3. 5th round, 4th, 5th round, somewhere in that territory. Because his tape's good. It's just I had no idea what kind of athletic profile he was going to have. L'Jarius Sneed at a Louisiana Tech. He's converted corner, 4.37. He had the fastest time for the safeties. Not gonna lie, haven't watched an ounce of tape of that guy, but he was your big winner from a 40-yard dash time. But if we're talking about winners and losers overall for the position, I think the winner for the safety, I got to throw some shade to Tanner Muse because I thought, the tape looks good in that speed without just sounding like I'm giving the fastest 40-yard dash time winner. But it's the small school guys. Man, Jeremy Chinn, Antoine Winfield, Kyle Duggar. All those guys. I mean, Antoine Winfield's not a small school, but it's Minnesota. It's not your big powerhouse, your Clemson, your LSUs, your Alabamas. But I think Chinn and Duggar definitely arrived. And when you're seeing how this safety class wasn't as athletic as last year's, guys that are better athletes, they're going to get preferred treatment. They're going to get pushed up a little bit on teams' draft boards. There's going to be a little bit of shuffling around. And you're going to see guys that come from the Michigans, from the Notre Dames, from the Iowas get bumped down for the smaller school guys that have a lot better athletic profiles. So winners are them. Losers, I actually think Antoine Brooks, for me, out of Maryland, I was kind of shocked. I thought, literally, if you took Brooks' 40 and Tanner Muse' 40 and switched it, that's kind of what I thought coming in, and Brooks was going to be one of my sleepers. I mean, he's still a big-time hitter, still has a nose for the football, but that 40-yard dash time definitely does not help him. So who do you guys, now that we're into the Combine, who do you think are the biggest winner and the biggest loser from this week's Scouting Combine? I think if we're looking at all the positions, biggest winner? It could be Denzel Mims from Baylor. I mean, we already know. I've been pounding the tail Denzel Mims. You watch me on Twitter, watching Baylor games. I bet so much money on Baylor this year. It could have been Denzel Mims. I think he could have played himself in the first round territory. You look at just from a 40-yard dash standpoint, Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin running a 4.39. You had Justin Jefferson from LSU running a 4.43. I think those are probably the two most important 40-yard dash times. Chase Claypool and Neville Gallimore, the two Canadian prospects that I obviously have a lot of investment in. They both dominated for their respective positions. Chase Claypool at wide receiver, Neville Gallimore defensive tackle. We saw Isaiah Simmons prove, freak athlete. Henry Ruggs didn't break the record, but 4.27, which is kind of what I called my shot on Twitter, which I thought it was going to be. I didn't think he was ever going to break it, especially when you watch the side-by-side between him and John Ross. John Ross ran lower to the his torso was lower to the ground, like kind of leaning, if you will. And you're always going to just, if you have a guy that runs more upright, he's always going to run a slower time because your head is when the ticker stops. So like you can just see from a speed standpoint, they're running a straight up race. Ruggs and Ross, who knows who's going to win. But if you're doing like a 40-yard dash time, John Ross had a lot better form, especially when you saw the side-by-side. So let me know who you guys think won the Combine. And yeah, that's it. Mock drafts start probably tomorrow, maybe Tuesday at latest. So make sure you subscribe for that, especially if you guys are into the draft content. And as always, it's your boy C4 saying peace